Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable and watched the alien ship appear on his screens. It was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship looked like a crystal palace floating in space, glowing with strange lights that hurt to look at directly. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Lieutenant Park at the communications station. Minho nodded. "Put it through." The view screen flickered and showed an alien creature. It had 4 arms, purple skin, and eyes that seemed to look in different directions at once. The creature wore robes covered in symbols that moved and changed colors. "Greetings, primitive species," the alien said. Its voice was smooth and cold. "I am Ambassador Velshara of the Karathi hegemony. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. We control 40,000 worlds and 3,000 species. You are new. You are young. You are amusing." Captain Hyojin, standing beside Minho, clenched her fists. She had served in the military for 15 years and knew an insult when she heard one. The alien was not here to make friends. Minho kept his face calm. "Welcome to our solar system, Ambassador. I am Admiral Minho of Earth's United Naval Forces. How can we help you?" Velshara made a sound that might have been laughter. "Help us? No, small creature. We are here to help you. The galaxy is dangerous. There are pirates, wars, and chaos everywhere. You cannot survive alone. You need protection." "What kind of protection?" Minho asked, though he already suspected the answer. The alien's eyes focused on him with sudden intensity. "You will become part of the hegemony. You will follow our laws. You will give us control of your military ships. You will provide resources as we require. In return, we will not destroy you. This is generosity. This is mercy. You should be grateful." The bridge fell silent. Every human officer stared at the screen. They had waited for centuries to meet alien life, dreamed of joining a galactic community, imagined sharing knowledge and culture. This was not what they had hoped for. Civilian Liaison Junho stepped forward. He was a diplomat, trained to find peaceful solutions. "Ambassador, these terms seem restrictive. Perhaps we could negotiate something more balanced?" Velshara waved a hand dismissively. "There is nothing to negotiate. 3,000 species have accepted these terms. All of them tried to negotiate. All of them eventually understood reality. You have 2 choices. Accept protection or face consequences." Hyojin whispered to Minho. "Sir, our sensors show they're scanning our ships. They're analyzing our weapons, our engines, everything." Minho nodded slightly. The aliens were preparing for war while talking about peace. Classic intimidation tactics. He had seen bullies use the same approach in schoolyards and battlefields across history. "How long do we have to decide?" Minho asked. "One of your solar cycles," Velshara said. "1 day? This is more time than we usually offer. We are being generous because you are so primitive. We find your species were entertaining. Do not waste this opportunity." The transmission ended. The alien ship remained in orbit, a silent threat hanging over Earth like a sword. Minho immediately called a meeting with his senior officers. They gathered in the conference room, faces grim. "They're going to attack us," Hyojin said flatly. "Protection is just a pretty word for conquest. They want slaves, not allies." "We don't know that for certain," Junho argued. "Maybe they really are offering help. The galaxy could be dangerous. We've been alone for so long. We don't know what's out there." "I know bullies when I see them," Hyojin shot back. "And I know threats. They didn't come here to be friends. They came here to own us." Minho raised his hand for silence. "What do we know about them?" Lieutenant Commander Sora, the intelligence officer, pulled up data on the main screen. "Not much, sir. But our scans during their approach gave us some information. Their ship uses energy shields and plasma weapons. Standard technology for a spacefaring civilization. Their hull is strong but not impossibly so. The ship has about 2,000 crew members based on life sign readings." "How many ships do they have?" Minho asked. "Unknown, sir. But if they control 40,000 worlds, the number must be enormous." "Millions, probably. We have 200 ships. They could crush us with numbers alone." The room fell quiet again. Everyone understood the math. Earth's entire military was a joke compared to a galaxy-spanning empire. "What about their claim?" asked Commander Taewon from engineering. "Did they really integrate 3,000 species?" Sora nodded grimly. "We did a deep scan of their databases during their transmission. Got fragments of information. It's true, sir. 3,000 species joined the hegemony over the past 50,000 years. We found records of their homeworlds, their cultures, their languages. And," Minho pressed, None of them are independent anymore, sir. Every single species lost its sovereignty within 10 years of joining. Integration means absorption, complete and total. They keep the species alive, but they destroy everything that made them unique. Their languages become forgotten. Their governments dissolve. Their military serves the hegemony. They become workers in someone else's empire. Junho looked sick. So protection means extinction. Just slow extinction instead of fast. Exactly, Hijin said. They're offering us a choice between dying quickly or dying slowly. Either way, humanity ends. Minho walked to the window and stared at Earth below. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, blue and green and beautiful. Billions of people down there had no idea that aliens had arrived, had no idea their entire species faced elimination. We need to tell Earth's government, he said finally. This decision is too big for one person. President Soman needs to know. The Security Council needs to vote. What will you recommend, sir? Sora asked. Minho turned back to face his officers. His expression was hard as iron. I'll recommend we fight. I'll recommend we tell them to go to hell. And I'll recommend we prepare for war. They have millions of ships, Junho whispered. We have 200. It's suicide. Maybe, Minho agreed. But slavery is worse than death. And I'd rather die human than live as someone's property. Hyejin smiled, fierce and proud. Then let's show these aliens what humans do when someone tries to put chains on us. The message went to Earth within the hour. President Soman assembled the Security Council immediately. The discussion lasted through the night. Military Intelligence Director Tai Yang presented everything they knew about the Kurathi. The evidence was clear and damning. When dawn broke over Earth, President Soman addressed the world. She spoke calmly but firmly, explaining that aliens had arrived and offered humanity two choices. We choose freedom, she said. We choose to remain human. If that means war, then we fight. If that means death, then we die on our feet instead of living on our knees. This is humanity's answer to the Kurathi hegemony. No. Admiral Minho received the authorization immediately. He returned to the bridge and opened a channel to the alien ship. Velshara appeared on screen, confident and smug. Have you accepted wisdom? Will you join the hegemony peacefully? Minho looked the alien directly in the eyes. No. The alien's smugness vanished, replaced by cold fury. Then you have chosen extinction. The hegemony will return with our military. You will be erased from existence. Your planet will be cleansed. Your species will be forgotten. Come and try, Minho said quietly. The alien ship left orbit, vanishing into hyperspace, but everyone knew it would return. And when it did, it would bring war like humanity had never seen. The Kurathi returned 6 days later. Admiral Minho was on the bridge when the sensors started screaming. Sir, multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace, Lieutenant Park said, his voice shaking. Counting 200. 500? 1,000. How many? Minho demanded. 5,000 ships, sir. All warships. All heading toward Earth. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the tactical display. Red icons filled the screen like a swarm of angry hornets. Each icon represented a ship larger than most human vessels. 5,000 against 200. The math was impossible. All ships battle stations, Minho ordered. His voice was calm, steady. Form defensive pattern Delta around Earth. Prepare all weapons. Throughout the solar system, human warships moved into position. Destroyers, cruisers, frigates, and the mighty dreadnoughts took their places. Every crew member knew the odds. Nobody talked about victory. They talked about making the enemy pay for every inch of space. Commander Yuna commanded the destroyer group near the asteroid belt. She was young, only 32, but she had trained for war her entire adult life. Now war had arrived, bigger and more terrible than anything in her nightmares. Stay focused, she told her crew. We might not win, but we can make them remember us. We can make them regret coming to our home. The Kurathi fleet formed a massive wall in space. At its center was a ship 3 times larger than any other, covered in weapons and armor. A transmission came through. I am War Marshal Krenthor, the alien said. He looked different from Velshara, more muscular with scars across his face. You were offered peace. You chose death. This is your final chance. Surrender now or we will destroy every human in this system. Admiral Minho took a deep breath. Captain Hyejin stood beside him, her hand resting on her weapon. They looked at each other and nodded. This is Admiral Minho of Earth. My answer is the same as before. No. Krenthor's face twisted with rage. Then die, primitives, attack! The alien fleet surged forward. 5,000 warships accelerated toward Earth's defenders. The distance closed rapidly. Minho watched the enemy approach and waited. He needed them closer, much closer. "Sir, they're firing," Lieutenant Park said. Bright blue beams lanced through space. Plasma weapons, superheated matter moving at incredible speeds. The first shots missed, splashing against asteroids in empty space. The second volley hit home. The destroyer Soul's Pride took a direct hit. Its shields flared bright and then collapsed. The plasma burned through the hull. The ship exploded in seconds, taking 200 crew members with it. "Return fire," Minho ordered. "All weapons full power!" Human ships fired their plasma cannons and missile batteries. Explosions lit up space like fireworks. But the Kurathi shields were strong, much stronger than human shields. Most shots bounced off harmlessly. The cruiser Busan Rising fired everything it had at an alien dreadnought. The enemy shields glowed but held. The dreadnought returned fire. The Busan Rising's bridge exploded, killing everyone inside. "We can't hurt them," someone whispered on the open channel. "Their shields are too strong." Yuna watched 3 more human ships die. Her destroyer shook as enemy fire hit nearby. Her tactical officer was crying. Her weapons officer looked ready to give up. "Keep fighting," she ordered, but her voice was hollow. They were losing. Badly. On the Indomitable's bridge, Heejin studied the tactical data. Her mind raced through possibilities. There had to be something, some weakness, some way to fight back. The aliens were winning too easily. Their shields were perfect against human weapons. "Perfect against human energy weapons, sir," she said suddenly. "The railguns. Have we tried the railguns?" Minho looked at her. Railguns were old technology, considered outdated. They fired solid metal slugs using magnetic acceleration, simple, crude, and very human. The military had kept them because they were cheap and reliable. But plasma weapons were better in almost every way. "Why would railguns work when plasma doesn't?" Minho asked. "Because they're different, sir. The alien shields are designed to stop energy weapons. That's what everyone in the galaxy uses. But railguns fire solid matter, physical projectiles. Maybe their shields aren't designed for that." It was a desperate hope, but desperate was all they had. "All ships, this is Admiral Minho, switch to kinetic weapons. Railguns only. Target the nearest enemy vessels." Across the fleet, crews scrambled to follow orders. Yuna didn't hesitate. Her destroyer had 4 railguns mounted along its spine. She aimed at an alien cruiser and fired. The tungsten slug left the railgun at 40,000 kilometers per second. It crossed the distance in an eye blink. The alien shield flickered but didn't stop it. The slug punched through the shield like it wasn't there. It hit the alien hull and kept going. It went through the ship from front to back, tearing through decks, equipment, and crew. The alien cruiser's reactor exploded. The ship broke in half. "Hit!" Yuna's tactical officer screamed. "Direct hit!" The shields didn't stop it. "All railguns, continuous fire," Yuna ordered. "Don't give them time to adapt." The human fleet unleashed everything they had. Hundreds of railguns fired in coordinated volleys. Tungsten slugs streaked through space like silver rain. They punched through alien shields as if they were made of paper. Kurathi ships started dying. One after another, they exploded or broke apart. The aliens tried to adjust their shields, tried to compensate, but there was no time. The human attack was relentless. Krenthor watched his fleet disintegrate and couldn't believe it. These primitives, these barely spacefaring creatures were destroying his ships. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds, defeated 100 species, were being torn apart by simple metal slugs. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Scatter formation." But scattering just made things worse. Human ships were smaller and faster. They chased individual alien vessels, hunting them down one by one. The battle became a massacre. Yuna's destroyer killed 6 enemy ships in 10 minutes. The Indomitable destroyed 18. Every human ship was finding targets and eliminating them. The odds were still against them, but now humans were winning. 4 hours later, the battle ended. The alien fleet was destroyed. 4,700 Kurathi warships floated dead in space. Only 300 had escaped into hyperspace, fleeing for their lives. The human fleet had lost 43 ships. Nearly 4,000 crew members were dead. But Earth survived. Humanity survived. Minho sat in his chair, exhausted. Around him, the crew was cheering, crying, hugging each other. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had actually won. Hyejin approached him, a smile on her tired face. "We did it, sir." We beat them. We beat one fleet, Minho corrected. But they have millions of ships. They'll come back. And next time, they'll know about the railguns. His words silenced the celebration. Everyone remembered. The hegemony controlled 40,000 worlds. They had limitless resources, endless ships, and they would want revenge. How long do we have? Asked Lieutenant Park. Months, maybe, Minho said. They'll need time to gather a bigger fleet. Time to prepare, but they will come back. He stood and looked at his crew. Young faces, old faces, brave faces, scared faces. All of them ready to fight again if needed. We have a choice, he said. We can prepare defenses and wait for them to return. Or we can use this time to build our own fleet. Build it bigger, stronger, faster. When they come back, we meet them with force they can't imagine. You want to start a war? Someone asked. They already started the war, Minho replied. I want to finish it. President Somin authorized total military production within hours. Every factory on Earth, Mars, and the orbital stations switched to building warships. Every resource went to the military. Every person contributed. Humanity was preparing for the fight of its existence. And this time they would not wait for the enemy to come to them. The Karathi Supreme Council did not respond within 12 hours. They did not respond within 24 hours. They were too shocked, too paralyzed by the impossible situation. For 50,000 years they had been the conquerors. Now they were the conquered. Admiral Minho did not wait longer. On hour 25 he gave the order. Resume bombardment. Show them we meant what we said. Human warships targeted the remaining military installations in the core systems. Railgun fire rained down like meteors. Ancient fortresses crumbled. Defensive platforms exploded. The hegemony watched its might dissolve before their eyes. Captain Heejin coordinated precision strikes. Her orders were specific. Destroy military and government targets only. Do not harm civilians. Humanity was not here to commit genocide. They were here to end a war, but the hegemony had never made such distinctions. Their own military doctrine called for total destruction of resistant species. They had wiped out countless civilizations, erased cultures, destroyed entire worlds. Now they faced an enemy that had the power to do the same but chose restraint. It confused them. It terrified them. On hour 36, the Supreme Council finally transmitted their response. We surrender, said the ancient blue-skinned counselor. His voice was hollow, defeated. The hegemony will cease military operations. We will disband our fleets. We will release the conquered species. Minho listened to the words carefully. Something felt wrong. The surrender came too easily, too quickly. He looked at Intelligence Officer Nari. Scan their remaining military, he ordered. I want to know what ships are still operational. Nari worked quickly, accessing data from their stealth drones. Her face grew dark. Sir, they're lying. They're moving fleets from their outer territories toward the core. Not to attack us, but to consolidate power. They think if they can buy time, they can rebuild. How many ships are moving? Minho asked. 800,000, sir. They'll arrive in 3 weeks. Rear Admiral Yuna slammed her fist on the console. They're playing us. They surrender to make us leave. Then they rebuild and come after us again later. Minho made a decision that would define humanity's future. He opened a channel to all human ships and to the Hegemony Council simultaneously. The surrender is rejected, he said coldly. You think we'll leave and let you rebuild? You think we'll show mercy and you'll exploit it? You're wrong. From this moment, the Karathi hegemony is dissolved. Permanently, forever. You will never rule again. He turned to his fleet commanders. Gentlemen, ladies, we're not leaving until the job is finished. Deploy the Marines to all 50 core worlds. Arrest every government official. Seize every military database. I want complete control of their command structure. General Ki-hyun coordinated the occupation. 3 million Marines deployed across 50 systems. They moved quickly and efficiently, taking control of government buildings, military bases, and communication centers. Sergeant Yoonji led the assault on the capital world's administrative complex. She and her raiders fought through desperate defenders, elite guards who knew this was their last stand. The battle was fierce but brief. Human tactics and weapons overwhelmed the Karathi guards. Inside the Supreme Council chamber, Yoonji found the council members preparing to flee. She arrested them personally, putting restraints on each of the ancient beings who had ruled the galaxy. You can't do this, one of them protested. We are the rightful rulers. The galaxy needs us. Without the hegemony, there will be chaos. Then there'll be chaos, Yoonji said simply. Better chaos than slavery. Meanwhile, engineer Daehyun worked on a different problem. The hegemony had used fear and military might to control their empire, but they also had technology humanity needed. He led teams through their research facilities copying data, studying their advanced science. "This is incredible," he told Admiral Minho during a report. "They have hyperspace technology that's 3 times faster than ours. Energy generation systems we never imagined. Medical technology that can cure diseases we thought were impossible to treat. Can we use it?" Minho asked. "Absolutely. But sir, there's something else. I found records of other species' technology too. The hegemony has been stealing innovations from conquered species for millennia. This isn't their technology. It's everyone's technology, collected and hoarded. That information changed everything. The hegemony hadn't been brilliant inventors. They had been parasites, stealing from every species they conquered and claiming it as their own." Intelligence Officer Nari made an even more disturbing discovery. She was analyzing the hegemony's historical records when she found evidence of genocide. "Sir, you need to see this," she told Minho, her voice shaking. The record showed species that had resisted integration, 17 civilizations that had fought back. The hegemony had exterminated every single one, down to the last individual. Billions of lives erased. Cultures destroyed so completely that only records remained. "They would have done this to us," Hyejin said quietly. "If we had lost, humanity would be one more entry in their genocide database." Minho felt cold fury wash over him. The hegemony was even worse than they had thought. Not just conquerors, but murderers on a galactic scale. He made his report to President Soman. She listened in silence, her face growing pale as she heard the full truth. "What do you recommend?" she asked. "Total dissolution," Minho said. "Not just military defeat. Complete political destruction. Every hegemony institution must be dismantled. Every official arrested. Every treaty nullified. We can't let them exist in any form." "That's a power vacuum," Soman said. 40,000 worlds suddenly with no government. 3,000 species with no central authority. It could collapse into war. "It probably will," Minho admitted. "But at least it'll be their war, not someone else's conquest." President Soman authorized the full operation. Operation Heavenfall expanded from a military strike to complete regime change. Captain Hyejin took charge of establishing tribunals. War crimes courts were set up on multiple worlds, staffed by judges from different species. Hegemony officials would face justice for millennia of oppression. The first trial began within 2 weeks. A hegemony general stood accused of ordering the extermination of the Kelthani species, a peaceful civilization that had refused to surrender their homeworld. The general had ordered the planet's atmosphere burned away. 2 billion Kelthani had died. The evidence was overwhelming. The general was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. It was the first of thousands of trials. Meanwhile, Rear Admiral Yuna led squadrons throughout hegemony space, broadcasting messages to conquered species. "You are free," she told them. "The hegemony is dissolved. You may govern yourselves. If you need help rebuilding, Earth offers assistance. If you want to be left alone, we'll respect that. But you will never be slaves again." The reaction was chaotic. Some species celebrated immediately, tearing down hegemony symbols and reclaiming their worlds. Others were confused, uncertain what freedom even meant after centuries of control. A few were terrified, afraid of what came next, and some saw opportunity. Species that had been held down for generations suddenly had access to hegemony weapons, ships, and territory. Old grudges resurfaced. Ancient conflicts reignited. General Ki-hyun reported increasing violence across multiple sectors. "Sir, we have dozens of territorial disputes. Species are fighting over resources, borders, old grievances. The Saltine Confederacy just invaded 3 Morthak colony worlds. The Venturi Collective is attacking anyone they consider weak. Can we stop them?" Minho asked. "Not everywhere at once. We have 15,000 ships. There are 40,000 worlds in chaos. We can't be everywhere." Intelligence Officer Nari provided more bad news. "Sir, several warlords are gathering hegemony remnant forces. They're trying to create their own mini-empires, and there are rumors of other galactic powers moving in to claim territory." Minho realized the war wasn't over. Defeating the hegemony had been the easy part. What came next would be much harder. He called a meeting with his senior staff. "We broke the old order. Now we need to build something new or the galaxy will tear itself apart. That's not our responsibility, someone argued. We came here to protect Earth. We've done that. Let the aliens sort out their own problems. If we leave now, millions will die, Hyejin said. Species will be conquered again by new empires. We'll have traded one hegemony for a dozen smaller ones. Nothing will change. So what do you suggest? Asked General Ki-hyun. Hyejin looked at Minho. They both knew the answer, even though neither wanted to say it. We stay, Minho said finally. We help rebuild. We stop the worst violence. We make sure no new empire rises to replace the old one. That could take years, Rear Admiral Yuna said. Decades, probably, Minho agreed. But we started this. We destroyed the hegemony. Now we have to deal with the consequences. President Sumin authorized the extended mission. Earth would remain involved in galactic affairs, at least until stability returned. But as Minho looked at the tactical display showing conflicts erupting across the galaxy, he wondered if stability would ever return. Humanity had won the war against the hegemony. Now they faced something more difficult, winning the peace. 6 months passed. 6 months of frantic construction, desperate preparation, and constant fear. Earth transformed from a peaceful civilization into a war machine. Chief Engineer Daehyun stood in the orbital shipyard and watched robots build another destroyer. The process took only 6 hours now, from first component to finished warship. Automated systems worked day and night, never stopping, never resting. The shipyard had built 800 vessels in the past month alone. How many ships do we have now? Asked his assistant Minji. 7,943, Daehyun replied. We'll reach 8,000 by tomorrow. Minji shook her head in wonder. 6 months ago we had 200. Now we have 8,000. It's incredible. It's necessary, Daehyun corrected. The aliens have millions. We need more. Always more. Down on Earth, factories worked at maximum capacity. Every planet in the solar system contributed. Mars sent iron and titanium. The asteroid belt provided rare metals. Jupiter's moons supplied fuel for the reactors. The entire solar system had become one giant military base. But building ships was only part of the preparation. Intelligence Officer Nari worked on something equally important: information. She sat in a dark room filled with screens, analyzing data from stealth drones. Months ago, she had sent dozens of tiny, nearly invisible probes into hegemony space. They had traveled thousands of light years gathering information, recording everything. Show me the galactic core again, she told her computer. The screen displayed an image of the galaxy's center, 50 star systems clustered together, connected by massive space stations. This was the heart of the Kurathi hegemony, where their leaders lived, where their military command operated. Computer, analyze military traffic patterns. Data flowed across the screen. Nari watched carefully, noting the patterns. Supply ships, patrol routes, communication relays. Everything the hegemony did flowed through the core. It was their strength and their weakness, a weakness humanity could exploit. She took her findings to Admiral Minho immediately. He studied the data with Captain Hyejin and several other senior officers. You're saying we should attack their capital? Asked General Ki-hyun, commander of the Marine Forces. That's suicide. They'll have millions of ships defending it. 500,000 ships, Nari corrected, and they're positioned to defend against external attacks. They expect threats to come from outside the galaxy, from rival powers, not from inside, not from a species they tried to conquer. Minho studied the tactical display. The galactic core was 50 systems, each one heavily defended. But Nari was right. The defensive formation assumed attacks would come from a certain direction. They weren't prepared for an enemy to strike from within their own territory. It's still incredibly risky, Hyejin said. We'd be leaving Earth undefended. If they have another fleet hidden somewhere, they could attack while we're gone. They don't, Nari said confidently. My drones mapped their entire military. They have 2 million ships total, spread across 40,000 worlds. They're gathering them all for one massive attack on Earth. They want to overwhelm us, destroy us completely, make an example of us for the rest of the galaxy. When will they arrive? Minho asked. 3 months, maybe 4. They're being careful this time, making sure they have enough ships to win. Minho made his decision. Then we don't wait. We take the fight to them first. We hit the core before their main fleet can reach Earth. The plan was insane. It violated every rule of military strategy. But Minho understood that conventional strategy wouldn't work against an enemy with such overwhelming numbers. They needed to do something unexpected, something the hegemony couldn't prepare for. President Soman approved the operation despite protests from half her advisors. The mission was named Operation Heavenfall. The human fleet grew to 15,000 ships. New designs had been added, massive dreadnoughts with dozens of railguns, fast attack cruisers designed for hit-and-run strikes, and specialized vessels carrying Engineer Daehyun's latest creation. Singularity mines, he explained to the assembled command staff. They create miniature black holes. Very unstable, very dangerous, but effective. Drop one in a system and hyperspace travel becomes impossible for weeks. Nothing can jump in or out. How many do we have? Asked Rear Admiral Yuna, newly promoted after her heroism in the first battle. 200, Daehyun said. Enough to trap their fleet in their own capital. Sergeant Yoonji and her Marine Raiders prepared for a different kind of mission. While the Navy destroyed ships and infrastructure, the Marines would assault ground targets. Their objective was the Hegemony Supreme Council itself. "We're going to invade the alien homeworld?" asked one of her soldiers, a young man named Ji-won. "Not invade," Yoonji corrected. "Assault. Fast, brutal, and precise. Get in, deliver the message, get out. Make sure their leaders understand they've lost." "What message?" Ji-won asked. Yoonji smiled grimly. "Surrender or die." The fleet departed Earth on a cold morning. 15,000 warships carrying 3 million crew members jumped into hyperspace. The journey to the galactic core would take 2 months. During the trip, crews trained constantly. Simulations ran day and night. Everyone knew the odds. Even with 15,000 ships, they would be outnumbered 30-1 at the core. Victory depended on surprise, speed, and ruthless efficiency. Minho walked through the Indomitable, speaking with crew members, listening to their concerns, encouraging them. He knew many wouldn't survive, but he also knew that if they succeeded, humanity would be safe. The war would end. Captain Hyejin spent her time reviewing attack plans with squadron commanders. Every ship had specific targets, specific roles to play. The attack needed to be perfectly coordinated. Any mistake could doom them all. 2 months passed. The fleet emerged from hyperspace directly inside the hegemony core. Alarms screamed across 50 systems. Karathi defense forces scrambled to respond. How had humans penetrated so deep into their territory? How had they reached the core undetected? But surprise only lasted seconds. Then the battle began. "All ships execute attack plan Alpha," Minho ordered. "Focus on infrastructure, not warships. Destroy their ability to coordinate and communicate." 15,000 human ships spread through the core systems like a plague. Railguns fired continuously, targeting orbital stations, communication arrays, military academies, weapons foundries. Everything that made the hegemony powerful became a target. Explosions lit up the core systems. Massive orbital complexes built over thousands of years shattered and burned. Administrative centers vanished. Command stations disappeared. Centuries of construction destroyed in minutes. The Karathi defense fleet responded, but they were confused and disorganized. Human ships were everywhere, striking from unexpected angles, using guerrilla tactics perfected in the Battle of Jupiter's Moons. Rear Admiral Yuna led her fighter squadrons against the Central Communication Hub, a massive structure larger than Earth's moon. Thousands of fighters swarmed it, dropping specially designed bombs that targeted the station's power cores. The hub exploded in stages, section by section. With it went the hegemony's ability to coordinate their massive military. 2 million ships across the galaxy suddenly couldn't receive orders, couldn't communicate with command, couldn't organize. Engineer Daehyun deployed the singularity mines. His ships dropped them in strategic locations throughout the core systems. The mines activated, creating gravitational distortions that made hyperspace travel impossible. The Karathi fleet was trapped in their own capital, unable to escape or call for reinforcements. Captain Hyejin coordinated the largest bombing campaign in history. Squadron after squadron struck military targets. Shipyards exploded. Training facilities burned. Arsenal worlds were emptied by railgun bombardment. The hegemony's military infrastructure, built over 50,000 years, crumbled in 72 hours. Meanwhile, Sergeant Yoonji and 500 Marines assaulted the Supreme Council chambers on the capital world. They fought through the elite guards, creatures bred for combat, and reached the inner sanctum. The Korathi leaders sat on thrones of crystal, ancient beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They stared at the human soldiers in disbelief. Nothing like this had ever happened. Their capital had never been attacked. Their authority had never been challenged. Yunji stepped forward and delivered Admiral Minho's message. Surrender immediately. Disband your military. Release all conquered species. Or we will reduce every world in the hegemony to ash and stone. You have 12 hours to decide. One of the council members, an ancient Korathi with pale blue skin, spoke in a trembling voice. You cannot win. We have 2 million ships. You had 2 million ships, Yunji corrected. Now you have 2 million confused individual vessels with no coordination, no command structure, and no way to reach you. We own your capital. We control your core. You've already lost. You just don't know it yet. She turned and left, her Marines following. Behind them, the Supreme Council sat in their thrones and realized that their empire was over. President Soman stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from 1,200 species filled the massive assembly hall on a neutral world. Some were humanoid, some were insect-like, others were beings of pure energy or living crystals. All of them shared one thing. They had been freed from the hegemony and now faced an uncertain future. We did not come to your world seeking power, Soman said. Her words translated into 1,000 languages simultaneously. We came because we were attacked. We fought because we refused to be slaves. We destroyed the hegemony because it was evil. But we did not do this to replace them as your rulers. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some species believed her. Others were skeptical. Many had lived under hegemony rule so long they could not imagine freedom. However, Soman continued, we cannot ignore the chaos that followed. Species are fighting each other. Warlords are claiming territory. Without some form of order, the galaxy will collapse into endless war. Therefore, Earth proposes the Terran Concordat. She displayed the treaty on screens visible to everyone. The terms were simple. Any species could join voluntarily. Members would keep complete sovereignty over their own worlds. They would promise not to attack other members. In return, the Concordat would defend them from aggression. Who enforces this? Asked a delegate from the Kelthani, the species whose homeworld had been destroyed by the hegemony. Who has the power to stop wars between species? We do, said Admiral Minho, stepping forward. Earth's military will provide protection for Concordat members. We will stop wars before they start. We will defend the weak from the strong. So you will be our masters, said a Morthak representative bitterly. New chains to replace the old ones. No, Captain Hijin replied. We will be your guardians, not your rulers. Your governments remain your own. Your laws are yours to make. Your cultures are yours to preserve. We only intervene if you attack someone else or if someone attacks you. And if we refuse to join? Asked another delegate. Then you're free to refuse, Soman said. The Concordat is voluntary, always. If you want to remain independent, we respect that choice. But you will receive no protection from us and you may not attack Concordat members. The debate lasted for 3 days. Species argued, negotiated, and questioned. Some saw the Concordat as humanity's attempt at empire. Others saw it as necessary protection. Many were simply confused by the idea of voluntary cooperation. On the 4th day, the Kelthani delegation was the first to sign. Their species had suffered most under the hegemony. They understood what happened when strong predators had no one to stop them. Within a week, 800 species had joined the Concordat. It was far from universal, but it was a start. But signing a treaty was the easy part. Making it work was much harder. Rear Admiral Yuna faced the first major test 3 weeks later. The Venturi Collective, a species that had not joined the Concordat, launched a genocidal campaign against the Helenti people. The Helenti were peaceful, weak, and perfect victims. The Venturi wanted their worlds and resources. Yuna arrived with a human battle group, 50 ships against the Venturi's 300. She broadcast a message to the Venturi fleet. The Helenti are Concordat members. You are attacking our allies. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. The Venturi commander laughed. 50 ships? We are 300. You cannot stop us, human. Yuna's response was cold and precise. You have 10 minutes to leave. After that, we fire. The Venturi continued their attack. Yuna waited exactly 10 minutes. Then she gave the order. The battle was over in 30 minutes. Human railguns tore through Venturi vessels with terrifying efficiency. The Venturi fleet scattered and fled. leaving behind 200 dead ships. The Halenti worlds were saved. News of the battle spread across the galaxy in hours. Species learned that humanity meant what they said. The Concordat was not empty words. It was backed by overwhelming military force. More species joined after that. Within 3 months, the Concordat had 1,000 members. It became the largest political structure in galactic history, surpassing even the old hegemony. But not everyone was happy about it. Some species saw the Concordat as humanity's empire dressed in pretty language. Others resented having to follow rules after centuries of hegemony oppression. They wanted chaos, wanted revenge, wanted freedom to do whatever they pleased. General Ki-hyun dealt with these problems. He led peacekeeping forces to dispute zones, mediating conflicts before they became wars. It was exhausting, thankless work. For every problem solved, 2 more appeared. "We're becoming galactic police," he complained to Admiral Minho. "This isn't what we signed up for." "No," Minho agreed, "but it's what the galaxy needs. And we're the only ones who can do it." Intelligence Officer Nari continued tracking threats. Hegemony remnants were trying to regroup. Warlords were building private armies. Criminal syndicates were exploiting the chaos. She worked 18-hour days analyzing data, coordinating intelligence networks, staying ahead of potential problems. "We need more ships," she told Minho during one briefing, "and more personnel. The galaxy is too big for 15,000 warships to patrol." Engineer Daehyun provided the solution, using technology captured from the hegemony and innovations from other species. He designed new automated factories that could build ships even faster. Within a year, the human fleet grew to 50,000 vessels, but Minho insisted on something else too. "We can't do this alone. We need Concordat members to contribute their own ships and crews. This has to be a joint effort, not just humans playing savior." The Concordat Defense Forces were established, integrating vessels and personnel from dozens of species. Captain Heejin took charge of training programs, teaching alien crews human tactics and strategies. It was strange work. Species that had been enemies for centuries now served on the same ships. Language barriers caused constant confusion. Cultural differences led to misunderstandings. But slowly, gradually, it started working. The first mixed-species crew stopped a pirate raid on a trade convoy. The second prevented a territorial war between the Saltine and Morthak. The third rescued refugees from a collapsing colony. 5 years passed. The galaxy slowly stabilized. Wars became less frequent. Trade routes reopened. Species that had been isolated for generations started communicating again. The old hegemony core was transformed into something new. Instead of a military headquarters, it became a diplomatic center. Instead of command stations, it held meeting halls and cultural exchanges. The Supreme Council chambers, once filled with tyrants, became a museum dedicated to remembering the victims of conquest. Sergeant Yoonji, now a major, worked as security chief for the Concordat Assembly. She prevented 3 assassination attempts in the first year alone. Extremists from multiple species wanted to destroy the new order, return to old ways, restart old conflicts. "Why do they fight so hard against peace?" asked one of her young officers, a human named Jiwon. "Because peace is harder than war," Yoonji replied. "War is simple. You know who the enemy is. Peace requires talking to people you hate, compromising with people you don't trust, building things instead of destroying them. Some people can't handle that complexity." Admiral Minho, now Supreme Commander of Concordat Forces, established forward bases throughout the galaxy. Human warships patrolled constantly, showing the flag, deterring aggression, responding to threats. It was exhausting work but necessary. On the 5th anniversary of the Battle of Jupiter's Moons, President Somin addressed the Galactic Assembly. She was older now, gray hair showing at her temples, lines on her face from 5 years of stress and responsibility. "We never wanted this," she said honestly. "We never asked to become galactic guardians. We just wanted to be left alone to live our lives in peace. But the hegemony came to our home and gave us a choice: surrender or fight. We fought, and when we won, we faced a new choice: walk away or help rebuild. We stayed." She paused, looking at the assembled representatives. "It hasn't been easy. We've made mistakes. We've been too aggressive sometimes, too passive at others. We've failed to prevent some conflicts. We've overstepped our authority occasionally. But we've tried. We've tried to build something better than what existed before." "What is better?" asked a delegate from a species that had lost worlds in post-hegemony conflicts. We still have war. We still have suffering. Yes, Soman admitted. But now you have freedom too. The hegemony gave you peace at the cost of your identity, your culture, your independence. The Concordat gives you freedom, even though freedom is messy and difficult. You govern yourselves. You make your own choices. You face your own consequences. That's what being free means. Not everyone agreed. Some species left the Concordat choosing independence. Others formed their own alliances. A few tried to restart their own empires before Concordat forces stopped them. But slowly, the new order took hold. Species learned that cooperation was possible. Trade flourished. Scientific exchange accelerated. Cultural festivals brought aliens together. Children of different species played together in mixed colonies. Admiral Minho, semi-retired now, stood on Earth looking at the stars. Captain Hyejin, now an admiral herself, stood beside him. "Do you think it was worth it?" she asked. "All the fighting, all the deaths, all the years away from home?"